see, I mean, we're in trouble, my friends. I mean, we're really, down this demonic rabbit hole to hell a long way. And we've got to invite God into this mess and say, God, help us. I mean, we got the curse is hanging heavy over America. I really believe that. And I am very much a patriot. Okay, I'm a diehard patriot. I feel very lucky to have been born in America. But I see that as a big responsibility. Being that America is the most influential nation on earth, I need to speak out and convince other people to speak out. It's called constructive criticism. Okay, if you accept it, if you just take the path of least resistance and go with the flow, do what you're told, just, walk in lockstep with the worldly ones that are successful as we define it, worldly wise, okay, secularly defined, okay, and don't question the establishment. Don't get into this religious nonsense about evil men and Satan and all this stuff. I mean, religion is a pejorative now. We all know that. So nobody wants to be, I mean, they've been doing that for thousands of years. Talk about word devolution. Okay, they did this to Jesus. Even back then, over 2,000 years ago, the word had devolved. See, religion, that meant you were pious. I mean, you were upright. You were upstanding character. You were a decent, righteous human being. Cream of the crop if you were religious, right? The piety and all that good stuff. You were a nice human being. You weren't a threat to anybody. You were a comfort. You were an encourager to other people being religious. But they tried to label Jesus, pigeonhole him. Oh, you're a religious fanatic. You're a nut. Jesus. He rejected it. His retort was, what do you call me religious? He knew their game. These were disingenuous people. Being disingenuous is far worse than being a liar. Liars are straight up. They're not so cunning. It's not quite so thought out and diabolical as someone that's disingenuous. Someone that's disingenuous is trying to deceive you. They'll give you like a half-truth. So it's easy to jump on and be tricked and say, okay, I'll go along with that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, religious people are nuts. God is dead. And religious people are just fanatics and freaks. You just ignore them. They're just nuts. No. Follow the secular world, the establishment. Okay? Which is established by evil men. So for all intents and purposes, is Satan. Who leads the evil men? That's who you got to ask. Well, I say, look, the Federal Reserve, the most powerful entity on earth. Printing the money? That's satanic power, man. That's how we're all being controlled. I tell people, I try to explain people about minimum wage and the Labor Department's involvement in all this. I mean, the Labor Department has to be in the pockets of the Federal Reserve for them to get away with this. If every year they gave a realistic minimum wage adjustment, every year without fail, that way it didn't sound, 15 an hour. No, every single year, it's a mathematical calculation. You calculate how much the cost of living went up. I don't care about luxury items. The market basket of goods. Strictly essential human needs. Food, shelter, drinkable water, energy needs. You calculate those things. Did they go up? Did they go down? If they went down, then we cut wages. Do you understand? This is a two-way street. So nobody's going to accuse me of saying, the answer is just raising minimum wage. No, the answer is sound economic policies. So do you understand why it was important the Labor Department's in the pockets of the Federal Reserve? And they're all involved. These politicians give their stamp of approval illegitimately, going against the will of the people. From the executive, we had one executive after another, president that is, and the Congress and the senators, they're saying they're betraying the people, stabbing the people in the back, knowing the will of the people. Like the bailout of '08 is a prime example. Over 90% of the American people opposed to that bailout, still they push it through. Do you understand how outrageous this is, that what we've tolerated? How we are headed for a civil war. Okay, if they keep pushing and pushing, they can't seem to stop themselves. But if it did break out, it would be we the people, along with law enforcement, along with the military, by extension with the law enforcement, okay, against a handful of evil elitist scumsacks. Who do you think is going to win in America? How long do you think that war is going to last? Okay, you understand? Everybody needs to be empowered with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the reality. But do you understand how if the Labor Department hadn't been remiss, it would have acted like a check and balance, a way to keep things accountable, to maintain sound economic policies over decade after decade. This has been going on. They had to cook us gradually, slowly, incrementally. Okay, so we didn't jump out of the pot, to use an allegory of the frogs. You're cooking the frogs. You don't want to cook them too fast. They'll jump out in alarm. For people, that would be a revolt, a rebellion. Okay, and they don't want that. They want to rock the boat in their direction. They don't want to overturn it, because then they know it's going to upset the apple cart, their apple cart. They'll lose control. Do you understand how corrupt and evil it is? It's like I pointed out last week of the analogy of the people that hold the diamonds. We could all walk around with a pocket full of diamonds if we wanted to. All 7.5 billion people on Earth, right? That's how many diamonds there are. But they meter them out. They regulate them on their terms. Do you understand? They control. I don't even care. They could do that with all the luxury items they want. Automobiles, jets, okay, fancy houses, whatever it is they want to do that with. Jewelry, gold, silver. I don't give a crap about those things. But when it comes to essential human needs, I object vociferously, and everybody should. It's a scam. Supply and demand. To give an example, I was supposed to work the VCR in the early 80s. I know people that paid over $1,000 for them. And then by the 90s, you could get them for $50 on sale. Better quality, last longer, with a DVD player, built-in TV tuner. So you could program it to the channel you want. It would switch automatically. That's what should have happened with housing. Why didn't it? Good question. Talk about market manipulation, price rigging, price fixing, collusion of different special interest groups that benefit from driving up your cost of living. That's how it happened. So there's every reason in the world to have checks and balances at the Labor Department and say, oh, you want to play that game? Okay, the working class, the productive ones out there, the most important asset and resource any nation can ever have, according to the world's greatest economist, Adam Smith, a willing workforce. You can sit on a mountain of capital. You got bupkis without a willing workforce. Slavery's illegal. But now they brought it back. They've gradually normalized it by being utterly and obviously deliberately remiss at giving adequate cost of living adjustments to minimum wage workers. Why come up with a federal minimum wage in the first place? How is it unreasonable? It prevents unscrupulous employers from taking advantage over overly passive workers. It's reasonable. There was a reason for it, a rhyme and a reason. There was logic behind it. There was a justification behind it, a basis behind it. So why do they drop the ball so hard and heavy? For one reason, it's theft of the working class, the productive class. Those doing jobs that are imperative to the welfare of society. Who can deny that? Who? Liar? That's fine, be a liar, but don't be disingenuous. Because the good guys are going to win this battle. And if you're evil, you're going down, and you know the camp you're going to. Okay, if you put your stamp of approval on this wicked world, okay, I got to tell you something. You're not going to get the stamp of approval from on high on Judgment Day. Okay? You better get it, man. I mean, that's what Jesus said. That's why you must hate your life in this world to have everlasting life. When you get it, you get that evil men rule this world. So that's as much as you need to know about a devil or Satan or demons. Evil men rule the world. And the reason they do is because they have this huge advantage in their sight, because they're so deranged and delusional, deluded, and demon-possessed, okay, that they don't value their conscience. Soul, they scoff at these things. God, don't believe that stuff. On Judgment Day, I'm not going to exist anymore. Why waste your time on that nonsense? Fairy tale stuff. You understand? So when they kill people to keep getting their way, because they love their lives in this world so much, they love the money and the power that comes with it, and everything else that comes with it, the control over the masses, that they're willing to do anything. And genocide, you betcha. So this whole climate change things, I mean, we're going to get into this discussion of climate change and how just everyday people heating and cooling their house and driving their cars and taking trips are causing it. But we're not going to talk about disruptive technology. We're never going to inject that into the discussion, are we? Oh, what is it disruptive to? The profits of the polluters. Do you understand? That are causing climate change. If there's climate, we're not going to talk about chemtrailing, this weather modification program that's been going on for decades. We're not going to talk about that. They don't want to get blamed for climate change. Can you imagine the lawsuits? You get it? You get why I'm upset? For a good reason. Well, I'm acting upset because I want to. Once a week I get to, vent. And I need to convince other people, look, act. Do it for other people. Teach other people how to act. Upset. If you're not, you should be. You really should be. You should care. If you really care, that means you really love and you're following the commandments of God. Love, care. So act on it, okay? And teach the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. To all those that are perishing out there that don't get it, that have been marginalized and beat down, all the homeless, destitute people in America. And I talk to them, I remind them how valuable they are, how precious they are to God. We got they're everything. He doesn't give a crap about the gold and silver or anything else. Often the things that are highly valued among men are detestable inside of God. See what you can do? Everybody can do something powerful. And it adds up. So a spark, you're a spark. You ignite a big forest. Chain reaction. And it reaches, it's trickle up change. So it changes everybody, the mayor and the police. And then from there, the governor and maybe the president. So you become an influencer of the influencers. You're a drop in the bucket, but you're a spark that ignites an entire forest aflame. That's what we need to do. We don't need a violent civil war. I'm opposed to violence, but we need one of empowerment, of coming out of confusion, of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Wisdom, knowledge, accurate education. Okay? That's how we're going to come out of darkness. That's how we're going to make changes. And it's starting to happen. I'm actually the rubber's starting to meet the road. Here in California, the governor is kicking butt on the homeless issue. He seems to be the real deal, and nothing but he's the real deal. I mean, I'm taken aback that we might really see some changes. We might really see light at the end of the tunnel and an end to homelessness in California. That's what I'm really, really hoping for. I mean, the people are starting to buy houses, and then there's all this outcry. I mean, there's oh my gosh, how dare the government's going to buy houses. The government's run by we the people for these destitute people. Oh, we can't do that. A woman's getting kicked out of her house because the county's buying the house, the city's buying the house. And she's, they're kicking me out. They're making, Well, if the house is for sale, what, is it better to go to another investor that's just going to keep renting it to you? Instead of the city where, hey, we're gonna do something to prevent people from going to jail. I mean, we're spending, at least $50,000, probably $100,000 for people that lose their cool. They get so desperate they commit a crime to survive. Okay, we're trying to get these people off the street because they're costing society too much. But you're gonna object. Well, it inconveniences me. Now I got to find another house to move to, and tough. You got a good job, I guess. You got money. You're on Section 8 or some other subsidy, some government program, because the rents and mortgage is so outrageous out there. I mean, who could pay for it? But anyhow, back to this minimum wage thing, help people understand how this would have worked as a check and balance. Because if every year the Labor Department said, we're coming out, and you see the inflation one year, you see, wow, it really went up. The cost of housing really soared this year. Guess what? Minimum wage is going to soar proportionately, commensurately, okay, accordingly. Do you understand? Equivalently. And then the employers would say, I don't want to have to pay my employees more by law. You're telling me I got to double their wages this year because the cost of living double? I don't like that. Good. See, then the rubber would have met the road right there. It would have got traction. It would have acted like a check and balance, oversight, accountability. They would say, well, let's find out what's causing the cost of living to go up, right? If you don't like it, we know what the cause is, a justification for giving the minimum wage workers a raise. So let's get to the what's causing it. You understand? So there's all the justification in the world. There's all the rationalization. There's all the basis in the world to give a cost of living adjustment to minimum wage workers, to act as a check and balance, to act as oversight, to give us some stability in our economy, okay, to have sound economic policies, sound money that would naturally go up in worth according to laws of supply and demand, like I pointed out about the VCRs, one example of many of things that have gone down in price dramatically. but they're not essential human needs. So I don't care. I don't care if the VCR costs $10,000 today. You understand? But they can't get away with that, and they know it, so they're picking on essential human needs. You need it. So I could charge, the sky's the limit what I could charge. You need it to survive. You understand? They got you by the throat. Okay? Your very survival at stake, the cost of existing, the cost of living, euphemistically